forests. They can be enchanting, but some are filled with mysteries and eerie tales that make them truly unsettling. From ancient woods rumored to be haunted to dense jungles where people vanish without a trace. Join me, I'm taking a look at the forests. They're one of the Earth's most vital ecosystems, and they cover around 31% of all the planet's land area, an estimated 15.5 million square miles or 40 million square kilometers. They're categorized into various types depending on their climate, tree species, and location, with tropical, temperate, boreal, and subtropical forests making up the vast majority. The Amazon rainforest is, of course, the most well-known, covering over 2.1 million square miles or about 5.5 million square kilometers in South America. But other large forests, like in the Congo Basin in Africa and the boreal forests of Russia and Canada, also play major roles in maintaining global ecological health. The diversity of life on our planet. Tropical rainforests, which cover only 7% of the Earth's land surface, are home to more than half of all land species. These ecosystems provide habitat, shelter, and food for millions of different plants and animals. Even boreal forests, which endure harsh winters, support species like wolves, bears, and migratory birds. So having said all that, for millions of people, forests are a source of their livelihood and their culture. Indigenous communities have depended on forest resources for hundreds, if not thousands of years, relying on plants for medicine, trees for shelter and tools, and animals for food. Modern economies, too, are deeply connected to the forest resources as they provide timber, paper, and ingredients for pharmaceuticals, food, and cosmetics. These ecosystems also offer recreational spaces, and they contribute to the mental and physical well-being of people who spend time within them. You may not, though, dare to venture into every forest that there is, so it's now time to reveal some of the creepiest to those uneasy vibes are the unnaturally twisted trees, which grow in contorted spiral shapes, and they bend in ways that seem unnatural, often with their trunks curving or twisting halfway up and forming bizarre shapes. No one really has ever been able to fully explain why they grow in such odd shapes, with the leading theory that it has something to do with the unique makeup of the soil, although that hasn't been conclusively proven. Another strange feature of the forest is a clearing known as the round meadow or circle of no vegetation. This perfectly round, empty patch in the forest has been a mystery for decades, as vegetation refuses to grow within it, despite soil tests showing nothing particularly unusual. People who visit this clearing have reported feelings of nausea, anxiety, and sometimes dizziness, with some claiming even to lose time and returning with memories that they can't explain. Strange electronic malfunctions and equipment failures are common in the clearing, leading many to suspect that some kind of undiscovered silhouettes. Bizarre voices, laughter, and even screams have been heard echoing through the forest, with local legends saying that these are the spirits of people who have, throughout history, vanished in the forest. Let's take a look at the Black Forest in Germany, which is known as Schwarzwald. It's a dense, dark woodland in southwestern Germany that follows the route of the Rhine River near the borders with France and Switzerland. It's famous for its towering evergreens and its misty atmosphere, and it's inspired countless legends and fairy tales, from the writings of the Brothers Grimm to modern horror stories. With shadowy pathways, looming trees, and ancient castles scattered about, the Black Forest has rightfully earned its reputation as one of Europe's most mysterious and haunting natural landscapes. The main reason for its eerie feeling is the density of the vegetation here. The thick canopy blocks out most of the sunlight, and it casts the forest floor in a constant darkness, even on the brightest days. Tall pine trees reach upwards, creating a solid headless horseman further add to the mystery of this place, with seemingly everyone having their own strange experiences. The Black Forest does have a close association with the Brothers Grimm, who took their inspiration for stories like Hansel and Gretel and Rapunzel from Germanic folklore from this region. Hansel and Gretel is particularly creepy, with its themes of children in a dark forest who are captured by a witch who lives in a candy-covered house. It is generally believed that the story draws on real fears and rituals from ancient times, when harsh conditions sometimes led to similar situations. But along with the creepy stories, the landscape of the Black Forest can feel ominous, especially if you come across the ruins of old castles, like those of Hohenzollern Castle. Locals believe that spirits of the past leaders and soldiers hang around these castles, and for centuries, the ruins have been constantly haunted, with travelers regularly experiencing ghostly encounters. It's not just historical experiences here either, as there's plenty of strange modern phenomena too. Magnetic strange atmosphere there, as it's led to its reputation as being such a creepy place. Thick, low-lying vegetation and tangled undergrowth add to this sense of isolation, making it easy to get lost in and creating a sense of being completely detached from the outside world. It is a place with a long history of strange tales and supernatural lore. The most famous of these, of course, is the legend of the Jersey Devil, which is a terrifying creature that locals believe has roamed the Barrens for nearly 300 years. According to these legends, the Jersey Devil was born in the early 1700s as the 13th child of a woman named Mother Leeds. Cursed from birth, the child transformed into a creature with wings, hooves, and monstrous face before fleeing into the woods, where it's supposedly been ever since. This Jersey Devil has been seen countless times over the years, with descriptions often including bat-like wings, a horse's face, and glowing red eyes. Many people have reported seeing or hearing something strange in the Barrens, and fear of encountering the Jersey Devil is deeply ingrained in the region's beliefs. But it's not just the Jersey Devil you need to be careful of. There's also been sightings of colonial soldiers and the sounds of children echoing out. The ghost town of Batstow Village, which was once a thriving ironworking town, is now abandoned, and this further adds to the sense of abandonment here. The ruins and decayed buildings of Batstow feel connected to the spirits of those who once lived here. And this village, along with other abandoned mills and settlements in the Pine Barrens, gives the region this sense of timelessness. The association of creepy happenings within the Pine Barrens also comes from its historical links with outcasts and criminals. In the 1700s and 1800s, the woods provided refuge for outlaws, fugitives, and even groups known as the Pineys, who lived off the land, hunting, trapping, and often rejecting wider society. This isolationist group only encouraged further rumors of strange rituals and hidden communities within the forest. Stories spread of strange figures living deep in the woods. Sunlight barely reaches through the thick canopy, so most of the forest below is dimly lit. It's also always mostly damp, thanks to Sri Lanka's tropical climate and fog that usually hangs around in the mornings. Visitors often mention the forest's deafening silence here, which is only broken by the occasional distant call of exotic birds or the sudden rustle of an unseen animal. Well, despite the sense of being alone that this brings, this forest is home to a wide range of wildlife, including species that are found nowhere else. There are, for example, elusive leopards, rare birds like the Ceylon jungle fowl, and the Sinharaja tree snake, and these further add to its reputation of being a mythical place. For a long time, locals have believed that the forest is home to various supernatural entities, including ancient spirits that protect it. These spirits are thought to guard the forests from those who enter with bad intentions, and the legends say that those who harm the animal or plant life will suffer the consequences. But one of the most famous stories linked to the area is that of the Netewo. According to folklore, the Netewo in certain areas, which could be to do with magnetic anomalies, all of which means that you can never be sure when you enter this forest quite how long it will be until you're able to leave it. Pretty creepy. Let's take a look at Witchwood Forest, which is in Oxfordshire in England. It's a woodland that has for hundreds of years been a focal point for mysterious occurrences, a strange atmosphere, and ghostly legends. It's an ancient royal forest which used to be a large hunting ground for use only by the English royal family, and it now covers an area of around 800 acres. It used to be a lot larger though, and while most of this original land has been used for alternative purposes over time, Witchwood still has the eerie vibe it became famous for and its sense of isolation. It's surprisingly quiet there, and really doesn't take long before you begin to feel like you've been completely cut off from the outside world. The forest is thick with ancient oaks, beeches, and other trees that create a dense canopy. Moss-covered who encounters her ghost is cursed to experience a similar fate as her husband, who eventually lost his wealth and fell out of royal favor. Witchwood Forest is also where a ghostly event takes place called the Wild Hunt, which is a procession of huntsmen, horses, and hounds that are set to march through the forest at night. This ancient legend, which is mentioned in folklore across Europe, talks of a paranormal hunt that's led by a dark figure or sometimes by the devil himself. Those who see or hear the Wild Hunt are believed to face dire misfortune or sickness, and with people often hearing unexplained noises coming from the forest at dark, this means that most people completely avoid the area at night. And there's plenty more myths about the forest too, such as it being home to fairies. Fairy rings, which are naturally occurring circles of mushrooms, are scattered throughout the region. And local legend warns people against stepping into them, otherwise they risk being taken away by fairies. There's also a few standing stones in an unsettling atmosphere you'll start to feel. The forest is the subject of countless local legends, and the nearby Victoria Boys High School is also said to be one of the most haunted buildings in India. There is a real sense of desolation here in this region, which starts in the town of Kurasong, which itself is surprisingly quiet. Dow Hill, which is on the outskirts, is even more secluded, and the forest is covered in a thick fog for much of the year. This quietness is only broken by the occasional rustling of leaves or the sudden caw of a crow, with any sound echoing through the seemingly deserted forest. One of the most famous spots in Dow Hill is a stretch called the Death Road, which is a path that winds through the forests and has become known for its strange and frightening stories. Locals report seeing a ghostly boy walking along this path, where he's said to appear suddenly and then vanish into the woods just as quickly. People have reported seeing him for years, and sightings are so common that many choose to avoid the road altogether. The Victoria Boys High School, there are unknown dangers lurking in there. Now, while these stories may seem like fairy tales, the dense layout of the forest certainly makes it easy to get lost. The constant fog, along with the isolation of the place, plays tricks on your mind, causing many to feel a sense of being watched or followed, and means you'll really have to overcome the sense of dread before you're able to enter here. Alright, let's move over to the Pokaini Forest near the town of Dobele in Latvia, and is another one that has a long history of mysterious occurrences and strange phenomena. While it may look like a typical forest at first glance, it's earned a reputation as one of the most haunted places in Eastern Europe. Now, what's really strange about this forest is the large collection of stones that are scattered throughout the area. These rocks, which are piled up and arranged in strange formations, seem out of place, with many of them being stacked in odd, almost deliberate patterns, leading to the theory that they were placed by ancient inhabitants. Local legend warns that moving or disturbing these sudden changes in temperature, inexplicable fog, and unseasonable weather. Even during summer, the temperatures in certain areas of the forest can drop drastically, causing a chilling effect that seems almost supernatural. With further beliefs that the forest was a sacred place for ancient pagan rituals, with stones serving as markers or altars, there are stories that spirits of those ancient peoples still haunt the forest. People have often reported hearing faint whispers, footsteps, or even seeing shadowy figures moving through the trees. And with the constant sense that you're being watched, this is truly a creepy place to be. Over to Poland now to look at the Crooked Forest. Probably one of the most famous strange forests of all is the Crooked Forest, which is outside the village of Gryfino in northwest of Poland. It's a place that's known for its nearly 400 pine trees, all of which have grown in a bizarre way. Each one has a distinct, severe curve at its base, forming a wide C shape before growing straight upwards. The pine's curve isn't just down to the shape of the trees, though. It is an extremely isolated place. It's often covered in mist, especially early in the mornings, and the curved trees, which stand in rows, cast long shadows that seem to warp and stretch as the sun moves. With suggestions that the forest holds residual energy from past residents or the trees are shaped by some magnetic field anomaly that affects their growth, it's also believed by some that the forest could be a site of extraterrestrial activity, with the curved trees being markers or signals. Even stranger, and adding to the idea that the trees are purposeful or the result of a single event, is that after nearly a century, no new curved trees have grown. In an ordinary forest, trees grow in varying shapes and sizes all over, but this cluster of pines definitely feels like it belongs to another world. Moving over to Africa now for the Congolian rainforests, which are in the heart of Central Africa. They're one of the largest and most biologically diverse, with local folklore, most of which focuses on the forest's supernatural elements. Indigenous tribes that have lived in and around the forest for hundreds of years tell stories of spirits, forest gods, and creatures unlike anything else. Probably the most famous of these legends is that of the Mokele Mbembe, which is a dinosaur-like creature that's said to live in the swamps and rivers of the Congo Basin. It's described as a massive, long-necked animal that's similar to a sauropod. Sightings of Mokele Mbembe are common, but there's not yet any definitive proof of its existence. And with so little known of the rainforest having actually been explored, it's the mystery and unknown of this region that makes it so creepy. Moving over to California with the Elfin Forest, which is in Escondido. It's a place that's become known as one of the most mysterious and creepy locations in Southern California. Though its name might make you think of a playful woodland creature, the region's history and atmosphere are the complete opposite. There's a real claustrophobic atmosphere here, with trails that are surrounded by a ghostly figure drifting through the trees, sometimes with the sounds of sobbing or whispers echoing around. While further adding to the mystique of the place and the reason why it must be treated with caution and respect is that there are said to be several important Native American sites throughout. It's said that by disturbing the sites or disrespecting the land, it can bring bad luck or even revenge by higher powers, with some visitors having said they've encountered strange occurrences such as hearing drumming in the distance or seeing flickering lights in the trees, leading many to wonder if the spirits of ancient communities still roam the forest, protecting their sacred land. Moving over to Northern Ireland now for the Ballyboley Forest. Well, Ireland is a place with a rich history of folklore and paranormal beliefs, and Ballyboley Forest, which is in County Antrim in Northern Ireland, has long been associated with many of those. This is mainly because this forest has a deep connection to ancient druidic practices and pagan rituals. Some legends suggest that the forest was